Okay, we are live. So here, hello everybody, hello elevated planet community. This is John Drew here, and
Angela, Angela Gabrielle. And today we have quite the show in store for you. We have 4 videos which we'll be showing you today, and John is going to tell us a little bit more about it.
yeah, so yeah, we have a bit of a treat in store today, and as per the invitation, really, the thing that we're trying to do here, we're setting the scene for changing times. That's really what it's all about. And there's good reasons to keep planting the seeds of change because it's to help build preparedness for the community because this year is going to be a year of change. So exciting times await, but as we know, this is the thing. Everybody is going to be shaken out of life as we know it. And that's not to say that as a scare tactic, because far from it, because we know we are expecting things to change, then we know that we have the choice of not dropping into fear. And that's what we're trying to do here. With the videos today, we're helping to set the scene for where we are heading in the years ahead. So that's it. So for 2024 for sure, and also for the following years as well. We just, taking little snippets from various places that I think really underline the journey that we are going to be on. So it's all exciting. So, Jolie, shall we carry on straight into the first minor clip?
Yes, let's do it.
It's only a few seconds long, but again, it's quite impactful and just gives us a little bit of background. Bear with me a second.
Or what is the new earth?
Here we go.
Or what is the new earth or new humanity that is coming?
The planet is changing so fast right now, and we're literally going into the next era of the human species.
Are there signs that we can see in 2024 or beyond where we can go, I see it, a glimmer of hope. This is telling me that, yes, something great is coming.
It'll be shakeups all along the way. And particularly in 2024, a big year of division and duality. What's going to happen is that these technologies, whether it's biotechnology or computer, are going to change the face of the planet. What our humans are going to discover about themselves with artificial intelligence is simply beyond. You're here right now on the planet for one thing, to shine your light. That's it. No more of the power games, no more suffering. Suffering was one of the stupidest things that we ever took on. The humanity is coming to the point where they're saying, no more, we're not going to tolerate it anymore. I know for a lot of your listeners, you wonder, how are we going to make it? What's going to happen in between now and then? And basically, Adamus will say, okay, here's what you do.
So we're back. So yeah, just a brief clip there of Adamus Saint Germain as it's Jeff Hoppe, his name is, who actually channels this Adamus Saint Germain, and he's been doing this since 2009. And there's a lot of wisdom there, and it's worth having a look. I mean, that total video there is probably about an hour and a half long, something in that range. So there will be a link to that complete video, so you can see, because that was just the taster, if you like, for what was to come. But there's a common thread with the videos that we've got for you today, which is about the fact that humanity will reach a point where we will no longer tolerate this egoic, fear-driven agendas that have been coming our way and will accelerate throughout this year. We don't know what that is yet. We don't know whether it's a new pandemic that is going to be introduced, a new control agenda around that, We don't know whether it's more war energy, which again, I think this is the old energy, as Chris Stiles told us on from the Human Futurology. This is the old egoic energy playing out against the new energy, which is about collaboration. It's about love. It's about harmony. It's about all the things that you'd really want in a high frequency, energetic kind of way. That is what we're heading to. That's why it's exciting. And, there's going to be times of significant change. And that's one of the things, again, that comes through from Adamus, is that, there will be shakeups and things are going to change around us. So, we're putting it out there. If by the end of 2024, nothing has happened, then Elevated Planet would look rather foolish, because, we're just telling it as we believe it to be. And, we will see, but I'm pretty confident that this is going to be the case. So that was just to give us an initial flavor. Any thoughts on that, Jolie?
Yes, I like how Adamus mentioned that we don't have to choose struggle any longer. You made that perfectly clear. So for those of you, or for us, that may feel like, you know what, all that hooey or whatever it is good. It's there, but I cannot put my energy into that. That's fine. But what we would like to lay on the table for you is that you don't have to struggle. And so if maybe not going down the rabbit hole of what's to come, it's more about going down the rabbit hole of really learning about who you are, so that you can stop struggling in your life, and then you can have that reverberate into your environment.
Perfect. Because yeah, you're right. I mean, the thing is that a lot of the stuff that goes through on the media is trying to draw you in to the outside world of density. But that's one of the things. What we do realize is we do have a choice about how we look at these things. Again, we come back to that eagle's perch analogy of looking down at the things that are happening and realize that actually we have all the wisdom we ever need within, and we can just go there, and we can, right, rather than doing, just be, as they say. It's trying to define that exactly, but you get the idea that we're here to shine that light, as Adamus himself said. We are here on the planet to shine our light. That's how we make a difference. So,
Correct.
yeah,
And
very good.
also, I think acceptance is a huge part, self-acceptance. Let's not go any further than that right now. And part of the struggle is when we fail to accept how life is showing up for us and we are showing up. And the only way to really change that is to accept it in the moment, and then put together a skill set and a strategy to make sure that we can pivot.
Yes, well said. Okay, so the next one that we're going to watch then is, in fact, Louise Hatch, who is one of our community. She did the Song of Hope that we've featured numerous times on our opening credits when we did them, and also videos. And this is her third Wild Wisdom piece, I think, that we have published. And she did the narration this week. And this is very much of this time. And as Louise herself would say, she channels this wisdom. She has brilliant writing skills as well as singing and everything. But the way that she puts these words, the way that she talks so succinctly about things that really count right now, it was so worth putting this out there. So here we go. We're going to go to Wild Wisdom next. Again, just bear with me a second.
Wild Wisdom, prepare to be who you came to be. On this wild and stormy night, with Storm Isha in full swing, on the day that Capricorn enters Aquarius with strong Pluto influences for the next 20 years, change is in the air. On this night, it feels as though the howling winds and swirling leaves are bringing in the new energies, fast and furiously. Our task is to hold strong, to keep hold of the paddle as we navigate our ways across this vast ocean of personal and planetary change. Each of us is unique, and therefore our paths this lifetime will vary dramatically, and yet the common thread, as we agreed to be here, is we have soul work to do. Planetary business, as I call it. It takes precedent, it takes priority, it takes courage, it takes preparation, and it takes trust. As we enter this new phase, we are called upon to find and follow our true, authentic expression and share it with the world in all the many ways we feel intuitively led to do so. It is something we have in our blueprints, many of which are being activated now. Keep a clear head and an open heart, practice tuning into the cosmos, and more importantly, our inner wisdom and our innate inner compass. Listen for and to the inner callings that pull at you in the dream time and in daytime musings. That is your soul's voice. It has the map and the torch. It has your back. I'm not an astrologer, and I love to follow a couple of brilliant folks that are. Many are highlighting the power of these recent shifts of planets. In line with this is the work of the amazing Chris Stiles of Human Futurology, who explains that we are moving from a one energy to a two. Not ego-led, but for the highest good-led. Less I, more we. As above, so below, and so we begin to find ourselves reacting differently to time-entrenched patterns or responding in new ways to old issues. We may find ourselves questioning the value of certain experiences. We may seek new experiences. We may look for more like-minded community and places to gather more knowledge that encourages the development of ourselves and our own wild wisdom. The mantra from my corporate training days springs to mind. There is no I in team. It is now we may find old issues resurfacing for a final letting go. We may no longer be able to ignore the call of our intuition, which is showing us truth, when allowing illusions sometimes seems so much easier. Or it used to. As Aeneas Nin so wisely wrote, and the day came when the risk to remain tight in a bud became more painful than the risk it took to blossom. Alignment is the key factor here. If we feel aligned and connected with our choices and path, we will be supported, and life will unfold as it's meant to. Having faith in ourselves and our higher power, alongside guides and spirit, will become the natural way of life and love once more. We often talk of freedom, and it can become a faraway place rather than an inner sense and connection. When I retire, I'll be free. When I leave this person, I'll be free. When I have enough money, I will be free. When my caring responsibilities are done, I'll be free. I've come to realize over time, sometimes painfully, that freedom is an inside job. For me, it is peace of mind, good health, calmness in storms, and relief from stress and anxiety. What is the point of having endless funds and no demanding commitments if the monkey mind still runs the show? This too is a work in progress. Spiritual practices can help to build the calm bank, as I call it. If we have a healthy ongoing balance in our calm bank, when we need to make an urgent withdrawal in times of concern or crisis, we will have enough resources to draw upon. We will not feel depleted or run low on fuel, energy, and remember, when the storm passes, continue with restoring the balance. Freedom also comes when we walk hand in hand with our higher selves. We find strength and solace in this unique teamwork. It becomes a magical high-frequency partnership. This innate combination also gives time and space for wild wisdom to emerge and to be shared, to build stronger foundations of community and connectivity. I asked a few of my nearest and dearest this question: what does freedom mean to you? A life without manipulation. Freedom means more time to love. Lawrence O, songwriter and musician. It means stepping out of the misaligned programming of our collective past and back into our power, magnificent and fearless. Freedom comes from choice, and we need to realize we have one. John Drew, Elevated Planet co-founder. Internal peace and then emanating outwards, Kate Giaconello, composer and photographer. You may wish to ponder the question yourself. The answers may surprise you. In this new energy, we are encouraged to live the way we came to live and to be who we came to be. We may not have the full picture of what that entails just now, but with time and faith and a renewed connection to the consciousness of humanity, those first faltering steps will become strong markers on the paths we are creating as we go. Preparation, contemplation, meditation, rejuvenation. And may I say at this point, this is not meant to be heavy like a burden. This is to be imagined as a positive and curious approach to the expressions we came to be. Each of us part of the whole, unique yet connected, individual yet in harmony with the collective, team players with clear boundaries and respectful understanding of others. The chaos of change may come. In fact, in some ways it is already here. Spiritual revolutions call for seismic shifts sometimes. In whichever way it manifests, hold on to the oars, offer and gather support, and weave through. Now more than ever, the ability to see the truth in all things will be our compass. It is the same with most things that mean something. They invoke the extremes of all emotions and heighten all aspects of the best and the worst that can happen. And in the very moment we surrender, we are free. The power of true expression is unlocked and given flight. Those moments are like fireflies in the sand. We glimpse the immenseness of all things, held together by the simplest things in life, the oneness from which we came.
Wonderful. So thank you, Louise Hatch, who is a member of our community and a very valued member of our community. So thank you again to Louise. But this is a beautifully profound piece. And, you know, I go through this and try and pick out highlights, but the whole thing is a highlight. So that's a difficult thing to do. But nevertheless, I love a lot of the angles here. The quote there from Anaïs Nin, and the day came when the risk to remain tight in the bud became more painful than the risk it took to blossom. And that is, I think, a metamorphosis that we will be facing as we go through 2024, going into 2025, because I do think, again, as stated by Louise, you know, we are reaching a point really where, you know, there's an activation going on out there that will change many, many people. You know, we have those blueprints. And as she says, Chris Stiles from Human Futurology talks all the time about our numerical blueprints that actually do dictate our lives. And they do. It's exactly a blueprint for your life. And it's a fascinating thing when you dig into the surface of that. And in fact, we've got part 6 of that series going out tomorrow on the newsletter. But yeah, that one of the things that Louise mentioned was that freedom is an inside job. And again, I think that goes back to something that Jolie said last week about this being an inside job, right? This is not about going outwards to work things out. It is about, you know, the inside work that we need to do. And she talked about building up a healthy balance in your calm bank, CALM bank. So that, again, really resonated with me, because having enough resources to draw upon when you need them, that makes so much sense. And again, that comes back to things like meditations, where you find that calmness within, that inner peace. And also, yeah, and she goes on to say, freedom also comes when we walk hand in hand with our higher selves. So again, that's where we make that connection through meditation, and we build the strength of that calm bank connection. And then there's a quote by Kate Giaconello that Louise uses as well, which is that internal. So the meaning of freedom to Kate Giaconello was internal peace and then emanating outwards, which tells us the same thing again, which is that it is an inside job. And from that inner peace, you radiate outwards and you impact those around you in the most positive way. You become a beacon for the community around you. So that was beautifully put. What else have we got? Yeah. And to not, again, not look at this as a scary thing. This is, as she put, a positive, it's a positive and curious approach as to how we go forward with this. So that, I think, is an important point. Individual yet in harmony with the collective. Team players with clear boundaries and respectful understanding of others. The chaos of change may come. In fact, in some ways, it is already here. Spiritual revolutions call for seismic shifts sometimes. So again, this is where the thing we've been talking about now for quite some time, which is that chaos is a prerequisite for change. So as Louise put it, spiritual revolutions. That's what we're going into. We're going into a spiritual revolution, but let's face it, we would all carry on with life as normal if we had that choice. So whatever is set to happen is going to shake us out of our choice of remaining in life as usual. We don't know what it looks like yet. And we will, interestingly enough, when we go into the next video, we get a little glimpse deeper into that. Now more than ever, the ability to see the truth in all things will be our compass. Again, another really important point because it talks about discernment. Discernment of what you accept as your truth. Do you take this as truth or deluded nonsense? What you get through the mainstream media, do you see it as truth, or are you going to question it? Are you going to check it out for yourself? Are you going to make your own mind up, or are you just going to consume the line that you've been given to, you know, to meet the ends of whoever is propagating that story? Then the final line. Oh yeah, I love this bit about in the very moment we surrender, we are free. And that is a really strange thing to think, because we feel we need to control things. We've got a piece put out there recently called the wisdom of uncertainty. And it's really about being able to be comfortable with a letting go. Comfort with letting go of things. And that is something which I think is going to be important. Then the final line was, we glimpse the immenseness of all things held together by the simplest things in life, the oneness from which we came. And that's the perfect way to finish, because that is what is really happening here. The oneness thing is the oneness consciousness that we will come to realize. You know, we all came from the same source. We all ultimately go back to the same source. So, you know, we don't need to fight, because we're only fighting against each other, or fighting against ourselves, should I say. So, you know, that's it. Now, Jolie, what do you think?
I think Louise is really onto something, especially the part that really resonated with me was what we talked about before, which was the preparation, the contemplation, the meditation, you know, and on from there. Like those parts she's helping to lay a groundwork for us to follow steps or have a skill set to move into this new energy.
Yes.
And I love that, because it's sort of like, you know, just like you would prepare for your day, right? We talk about how sometimes being healthy means that you look after yourself. So what do? If you're going to be out for the day, maybe you prep your meals. Maybe you put your clothes out before you leave the night before. So imagine doing these things on a spiritual level. And so that's all we're trying to get ourselves and others aware of, is that it's just important that the time that we take for our physical success and our physical ease and grace, let's do that for our spiritual as well, because then it really opens up the way for us to be clear as to our next steps, which is so important when we're talking about this separation between the old and the new.
Yes. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah. So, okay, well, the next one that we come to is Lee Harris and the Z's. The first section is Lee Harris himself. Again, very brief sections, but again, they actually do paint quite a decent picture. So bear with me a moment and we will get that to you.
And they said between the years of 2017 to 2024 will be rapid changes on the planet, and it will peak in 2024. And then from 2025 onwards, you're in a new timeline, and essentially the new world can begin. But the intensity of this next 7 years is going to be greatly challenging at times. It is going to be shocking for many people, and it's going to shock a lot of people awake who previously weren't seeing some of either the corruption in the world or some of the inequity or some of the imbalance. They were perhaps just, in their own lives, maybe because they were just trying to survive, because the system has most people in survival.
Okay, we'll just pause there for a moment, because again, there's some important points there. Really, it's about setting the scene for the years ahead. So, talking about the fact that all the way back from 2017, Lee Harris had been talking about the changes taking place, but 2024 is when we start to see the acceleration, and 20 through to for the next 6 or 7 years, that is when we're going to start to see things really shift. So yeah, I think that is it's good to get this. And Jolie, do you want to add anything to that?
Yes, I just want people to know that it's, once again, fear is just not your friend. It has no place inside of us or, this trek. It's really about understanding that these next steps are crucial for you to elevate and realize the universe is conspiring to support you. So basically, I think what Lee Harris and the Z's are saying at the dregs of it is change your thoughts about yourself and how you're proceeding and your environment. Oftentimes we come really down on ourselves because we're programmed and conditioned to find the mistakes and fix them. Whatever's working is working. Don't pay any attention to that. Pick out what is not and fix it. But that's part of the struggle. You don't want more of that. You don't want more of the fix it. You want to focus on what is working, especially inside of you and especially inside of others. So part of the struggle, letting go of the struggle, is to say, you know what, I choose to look at the positive, expand, and stand there more than harp on the negative. And then go in the lab, whatever that means for you, and then handle that there, one-on-one or with other people, instead of having to contaminate the water sometimes with those things. But always remember, self-acceptance is what is going to help you to move into that next level and that next state.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jolie. We will do the next section. So the next section is where Lee is actually channeling the Z's. So the first part was just Lee talking about what the Z's have told him over the last few years. And this is really talking about what is happening imminently from the Z's as channeled by Lee.
What you are actually going to notice if you pay attention is a lot of push-pull in multiple directions. So some of you are waiting for the big thing. Some of you are waiting for the spaceships to land, or the bomb to go off, or the country to collapse, or the major natural disaster to annihilate an area of the world. And we're not saying you want any of that to happen, but some of you are waiting for the big one. No, no, no. There are going to be a series of events that you will watch ricochet around the world, much like you already have been, but the grouping of them will also change some of the systemic power that you are currently trapped within. It goes back to what Lee was saying earlier. This we the people is beginning to rise. So before, it's we the people are very small and the power systems are in charge and driving the car. Now, what is about to start happening in the next 2 to 3 years is the power systems will still want to show you their power. They will still want to prove their power to themselves and to you, but they are losing grip. And we, the people, are beginning to activate in power, in purpose, and in your sense of direction for what kind of planet you want to see. So you are going to go through major personal shifts, and most of you will experience that before you see the shifts that start rippling around the world that will play out in 2024 and have a domino effect through 2025 that will start to allow light to be held, nourished, and built on through the year of 2025 in bigger ways than this past 6-7 years have truly allowed the people to influence.
Great. So, yeah, again, quite powerful stuff. Short but sweet. And again, there will be links to the entire next level soul podcast that will go out on the newsletter. So, by all means, go and check it out for yourself. See it in its entirety, in all its glory. So it's comforting to hear that it's not going to be the big one, the big destructive force like an Atlantis type of cataclysm. I have understood for a long time it was never intended to be anything that's cataclysmic. But that idea of it being a series of events ricocheting around the world in a way that changes the systemic power, the systemic power structure that is the puppet masters, if you like, they're out there at the moment, creating wars, creating disharmony. So the fact that that weakens their grip and it allows more light to be held means that the people thing can step forward with new energy and ability to influence change, because that is going to be what is important. The likes of Stephen Greer has always said all along, it is not going to be governments that change the world. It is going to be we the people stepping up to take our place and say no more. That's it. And that was also what was said in the first one, which was the Adamus Saint Germain, is saying no more to the power structures, no more to that abusive power structures that is that old egoic energy. So I find that what is said there is actually quite enlightening, because it does give you an idea, take some of the fear factor away from what's going to happen. It's not going to be a big cataclysm, but there will be things that will be very notable. It'll be on a personal basis. And I think that, again, this is allowing us to get to a much better time. So even though there is going to be change, we don't need to fear this. We can get excited about it, because this is taking us towards that age of Aquarius that we've talked about again for the longest time, out of the Piscean era, which is just full of all the egoic energy of the lies, of the deceit, of, basically the misaligned programming that we have been subjected to, that has kind of got us to where we are today. That is what we are losing. We're having the blinkers taken off, and we are being allowed to shine our light and realize our true magnificence, our true power. So I think that's all very exciting. Jolie, what do you think?
I absolutely agree. It's where we're moving to and what we're doing is going to be something very powerful and wonderful. And let's keep that in our thoughts and our forefront. When we look at these concepts and we talk about these dates and times and these big things that may be taking place on an international or universal level, that is awesome. But also, too, I really like to kind of bring it down to what we can do as an individual, or what we can do as a person to sort of help ourselves to glide through this. So although I may not deal with something that is being talked about, I just want people to understand that maybe you're not into that. But what we want you to get into is the fact that you have the power to get through this and whatever happens with grace and ease. And the way to do that is by first preparing yourself, by understanding what may go on, contemplate and look at where's my place in it, and then start to visualize and create that future for yourself so that it can then materialize. And that's the beauty of what these videos or this time is preparing us for. And John, really, it's wonderful how you're walking us through this.
Oh, well, thank you. It's I think that what you're doing, Jolie, really for us is very, very important because you are giving us the tools to be able to, as you say, glide through these times. And, that's the thing. We become Teflon coated. None of this stuff sticks anymore. So we'll go to the final video, which is Astro Butterfly, which astrobutterfly.com is the website for these people, and they are astrologers, or she is an astrologer. This has been narrated by Louise. For us on this one again. So not only did she do the Wild Wisdom piece, but she also narrated this for us because Louise Hatch actually introduced me to this, and I read it to Jolie, and Jolie loved it too, and we knew that this would be a great thing for us to talk around on the Elevated Planet Live. So here it is. Just bear with me a second.
Animal Farm by George Orwell is an allegorical novel about some animals on a farm. One day, the animals, led by a pair of pigs, Snowball and Napoleon, lead a rebellion against the human owner of the farm. The animals successfully drive him out and establish the Animal Farm. They agree to adopt the 7 commandments of animalism as their constitution. The most important of these is the last commandment: all animals are equal. But things don't go as smoothly as expected. Napoleon runs Snowball off the farm and gives himself full leadership. He gradually violates more and more of the commandments as his behavior becomes increasingly like that of their previous human master. The climax comes a few years later when the animals spot Napoleon carrying a whip, violations of the commandments, and discover that all the commandments have been reduced to simply all animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. What does this mean? New moon in Aquarius, some people are more equal than others. The Animal Farm metaphor suggests that the ideals of social justice and equality that inspired the animals' revolution ultimately crumble under the corrupting influence of power. Napoleon and the pigs have become just like the humans they overthrew. Similarly, our ideals initially sounded lofty and promising, but in reality, they often fail to withstand the corrupting forces of power and self-interest. Reflecting on the fragility of our ideals and their susceptibility to corruption is more crucial than ever, especially when we have a new moon in Aquarius and an Aquarius stellium. Aquarius rules our hopes, dreams, and social causes we resonate with. At a deeper level, Aquarius rules humanity, that place where our individual aspirations intersect with the collective vision for a better world. New moon in Aquarius. What makes us human? The new moon happens on February the 9th, 2024 at 20 degrees Aquarius. The new moon is tightly square its ruler Aquarius at 19 degrees Taurus. This alignment prompts us to contemplate the essence of humanity itself. What defines our humanity? There's a difference between what makes us an individual and what makes us human. Being human is not what makes us unique, that's Leo, but what makes us similar, Aquarius. Being human is that deep knowing that we're all in this together. If one of us is hurting, humanity as a whole is hurting. If there's a war, is it human to take sides? Is it okay for some people to die because they are the enemy? The world is not a counter-strike field. Every human being is someone's son or daughter. There's no other way. There's always a better way if we are willing to find it. But this requires us to stop operating from good versus bad and right versus wrong. Batman and Joker are fictional characters. It's the wannabe heroes that create the jokers. Anything can be justified through the good versus bad paradigm. When we fight for some people, goals, or ideals at the expense of others, it's worth reevaluating our motivations. Are we really driven by our humanity, or is there another motivation?
Okay, we just pause there for a moment just to reflect on that. Again, again, much of what was spoken about there from the Astro Butterfly uh, blog that was in place, which again is going to be available on the newsletter tomorrow. So it'll be the written version and there'll also be this video version as well. But it really comes down to the fact that, you know, the idea of war. It's kind of when we stop and think about it, once we start to realize that we are all one and there is a oneness consciousness that is starting to step up with this Aquarius era that we are stepping towards, then that is something that really is going to be exactly what we need for the future. It's all about those high frequency energies of love, of joy, of celebration of life, of kindness, of compassion. And that is a long way from where things have been. You know, we've been confronted with energies of war and will probably continue to be for a while. Who knows, the next pandemic, right? Next control agenda that comes out. But that is what we will no longer be tolerating. That is where, you know, this is the question is being asked, are we living on Animal Farm? Because if those puppet masters out there have actually been doing their Napoleon bit and actually, you know, not been doing things for the greater good, but for the good of the small minority as opposed to the majority, then that is kind of where we have been. And it's a case of how do we get out of it and how do we get out of it sustainably? The energy's already happening and we're all heading in the right direction. But Jolie, what do you think?
I think inevitably we're definitely heading in the right direction. And this might be controversial, but you have to think about our concepts like we have this concept of heaven and hell. But at the end of the day, if God is omniscient, omnipresent, and omnipotent, then everything goes back there. Even the things we believe don't belong, right? Where does it all go? And some people believe that the wrath of the creator is love. It's like if you can't handle the love and the joy that is coming with the spirituality, that's what kind of burns you up. And you can kind of see that as being true because those who harbor jealousy or envy, it's as if, or unforgiveness. We talked about that last week, right? Drinking the poison and expecting the other person to die. So always, that's why I want to come back to self-acceptance, because at the end of the day, you can say, I'm here, I don't like it, let me pivot, let me learn how. And then we understand at that point, heaven and hell are right here with us now, depending on the choices that we make.
Yes. Very well said. Very well said. Let's carry on and do part 2, which is about 3 minutes long.
New moon in Aquarius and Pluto in Aquarius. We are all humans, and this comes with great power and great responsibility. It's remembering our humanity that will help us avoid just another Animal Farm scenario. Overthrowing the old without compassion and respect for our shared humanity can lead to a looping scenario where new Pluto in Capricorn-like power structures replace the old ones, but there's no real change. How do we do better? I believe that before trying to change the world, we first need to embrace our own duality, the good and the bad. When the good and the bad are two separate entities, we have Batman and the Joker. When the ego and the id are reconciled, we have a human being. When we make peace with our so-called dark side, we no longer project it onto others. Instead of directing our energy onto supporting good causes and fighting bad people, we channel it into self-improvement and cultivating a balanced perspective. From that place, it is then easier to keep our humanity in check and operate in the world from a more conscious and less polarized place. New moon in Aquarius, human 2. The new moon in Aquarius will raise some important questions around how we relate to society, ideals, and our concept of humanity. The new moon is in a tense aspect square with Uranus in Taurus. The new moon square, its own ruler, creates an awkward be careful what you wish for scenario, where our own ideals, goals, and hopes for the future seem to turn against us. We might face some uncomfortable truths. We may be required to do work we don't like doing, or approach our aspirations from a different angle. There is help. The other ruler of the new moon, Saturn, makes a supportive sextile aspect with Jupiter. As always, the universe gives us the tools to navigate challenges and grow into the next best version of ourselves. We can become a more conscious human today, tomorrow, and every single day. This is the first new moon in Aquarius with Pluto in the sign. This is a unique opportunity to connect with our inner power and transform the paradigm through which we perceive and engage with the world. The new moon in Aquarius on February the 9th, 2024, can be the beginning of a completely new chapter of our lives. I'd like to give thanks for this piece to the amazing Astro Butterfly. John and Jolie will give you information on how to find them. Thank you.
So thank you, Louise Hatch, for the narration, and thank you for the introduction to Astro Butterfly as well. And absolutely, again, it will be on the newsletter tomorrow, but astrobutterfly.com is where the work gets posted on blogs, and they've got emails, newsletters, and the like. So strongly recommend you can check that out. So it's very, very good. I just want to add a couple of points of clarity here, because one of the things that gets talked about is stellium, which is a cluster of planets in one of your astrological houses. It can send a big surge of energy to that part of your life. So that was one explanation, because I needed to look it up myself. So I thought I'd share that just in case, like me, you didn't know the answer to that either. And sextile is an aspect formed when planets are two signs about 60 degrees apart, and that is positive harmony between planets that open up new pathways to growth. So all good. So I'm not going to talk too much about that second part, because I know that Jolie has a lot of really good stuff to talk about there, which leads us into the meditation. So Jolie, can I bring you back in?
Yes, and we talk about duality. And I guess that could be what some say, well, that's the struggle, right? Is the duality between the right or the dark and the light. And the dark is so important, and some might look at it as the ego. She touched on that, the integration of the ego and the id, the right and the left brain, the masculine and the feminine is always kind of what can trip us up. We have inner child, outer child, and all these bits and pieces of ourselves that have been labeled that, I guess, manifest those behaviors. So it's just so, it's okay for us to allow for the dark to inform the light. Let me close my eyes and slow down. And the way that we do that is through self-acceptance, as I said, but also in stop denying your behavior, your darkness. We're all triggered, no matter what level you are on. If you think some of these greats that you look at and watch are always that way every day, we're deluding ourselves. The Creator gives us emotions and gives us reactions for a reason. And it's for us to align, to better align with ourselves, and to learn as to what works and what doesn't, and to allow into our lives, and what to say no thank you to, and how to set boundaries. So the dark and our ego is there to protect us. And then that's where fear propagates and really grows. So what we can do is, what is fear? Fear is what? Anger turned inward, or sadness, all of that good stuff. So what we can do is, once we learn how to send that anger out of us, we can then get out of denial about the ways in which the dark and the light are fighting. And we can say, hey, let's integrate, let's sit down, and let's learn how to work with one another. And that ego, once we realize that it's there only to protect us, then we can start saying, hey, you default to messages from my higher self, right? So I'm basically giving you a kind of step-by-step process that you can do in those times where you're fighting with yourself. You say, ego, wait a minute. Let's default to the messages and the guidance from the higher self. But if you don't know you have a higher self, how do you know to do that? Right? So these are all parts of your soul architecture. So today, as we move into our meditation, I'd just like to really help us to integrate the dark and the light, and to learn how to use the dark, to inform the light, and to help us move. Because oftentimes when we don't honor the darkness within, we are immobilized, because what's happening is we're creating dissonance in our lives. And when we have that cognitive dissonance, we don't move. So part of that comes from our fear of embracing the darker parts of us and turning them into something that is fuel.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, because everything comes into balance, and that includes us, as our own little personal universe, doesn't it? There has to be the light and the dark. And it is, what you say makes so much sense to me. But, we're almost like afraid of the shadow aspect, but, working with it together like that, I love that. So should we go to our screen, our copper wire
Yes.
spiral? We got, bear with me a second, we shall be straight with that.
Yes. And so as we always want to begin with our feet flat on the floor, our palms face up on our thighs. For those of you laying down, please just bend your knees and keep your feet flat for the beginning part of this meditation. As we start from the center of our chest, breathing with the rhythm of our bodies. Take a few deep breaths, and then bring your awareness to between your sit bones as you ground your energy with a beautiful grounding cord that is 6 inches in diameter and of an earth element. You're going to see this energy move down through what you're sitting or laying on, down through the earth, the crust, through what's called the lithosphere, and then the asthenosphere, and then into the core. You grow roots. You're going to pull your aura layer in, or your personal space. Yes, you are in control of that. To be 1.5 feet around you, you're going to call that highest part of you, known as your higher self, back above you, and your astral body, which is that travels when you're sleeping to gather information and positive energy, so that when you wake up, you can start your day. Snap that back into your body. And now your soul architecture is put together. So now we're going to do what is called running energy. So I'd like you to create, visualize, or imagine the bottoms of your feet opening like the lens of a camera as you call in 15% earth energy of a color that resonates with you. Red for activity, creativity is orange, healing is green and blue, and soothing energy as well. So you can call in the living waters of Mother Earth, the healing energy, the wind, anything that you feel that you need. As you open up that crown, again, like you would the lens of a camera, nice and wide, and calling in 85% cosmic gold life force energy from the divine creator, cascading down throughout your body, filling up your head, moving down throughout all your organs of your body, mixing in with that earth energy as it begins to fill you up like water fills up a cup. Every single cell in your body is turning heart-shaped. And all of this is doing its thing, cleaning out any disease, any illness, anything that no longer serves you. Let this happen as you breathe with the rhythm of your body and bring your awareness to the center of your head. And as we've learned many times, we have 2 hemispheres to our brain, right and left. We want to integrate this. And so we can always see this visual of the 2 sides of our brain, one representing the ego, one representing the id, and the higher self that sits above. And so both of these, the ego and the id, the male and the female, the right and the left, we're going to see these energies integrate with each other. So we create this light being, whatever side, or light energy, and then we see that move into the darkness. the right hemisphere and the left hemisphere. And we see some of that darkness move over into the light. And then this energy begins to communicate with the higher self. And the higher self then brings energy down the center of your head and allows for these energies to integrate and dance with one another, creating a beautiful synergy or movement that is going to allow you to create outside of your brow. You're projecting this positive energy of peace and calm, of the light and the dark integrating, and while being guided from that higher self, the ego, the id, the masculine, the feminine, the right brain and the left brain, communicating and working together in a sense of peace for the highest and the best, as it takes its instructions from that highest part of you. So create that. For me, I create a pyramid. These energies going back and forth, and these energies going up and down, communicating with one another instead of being in silos away from each other, which causes a dissonance. So I want you to see that beautiful pyramid of light mixed in or bordered by whatever that dark energy is. The dark energy solidifies the light, but the light is what animates, infiltrates that dark energy, allowing for it to create movement, positive movement, right? Positive movement within your life, within your body, within your environment. So keep that pyramid above your head, right brain, left brain communicating, moving energy up to the higher self as that energy from the higher self moves back down. Whatever direction you want it to go in, switching that direction depending upon what you're doing. Do you need to critically think? Maybe we need to shift it from right to left, up to the higher self, back down to the right brain, right? Maybe we need to be creative, move that energy from the left to the right, up into the higher self, back down to the left. This energy is what's going to help you move, create, and manifest. This powerful pyramid of the dark and the light integrated, listening to the higher self, that masculine and feminine energy, dancing with each other, moving you forward towards your goals and your success. Take a deep breath in, exhale. Close your feet chakras like you would the lens of a camera. Stop running energy. Close down, just gently, your crown, knowing that that part of the brain, that pyramid, that divine pyramid is permanent. It's going nowhere. It's there. And when you tap into it, it's going to move as you command. So leave that in place. Let's close down your crown and stop running energy and allow for all of this energy to integrate with your own as you sit in the center of your chest, knowing that every cell in your body is shaped as love and as joy, all the way out into that aura layer. And those bounds and those boundaries that may seem dark are only there to show you the difference between where you end and begin and another person or entity ends and begins. So that dark is informing the light. Take a deep breath in, exhale, and when you're ready, you can open your eyes.
Got a little bit of jungle going on there.
Yeah, get primal.
Yes.
Sometimes that primal energy is the stuff that heals.
Yes. That 639 hertz backing
Yes.
track, maybe a little bit louder than it should have been, Jolie. I apologize for that, but
Oh, no worries, no worries.
Yeah, but no, it's a beautiful meditation. Yeah, the pyramid idea, I love that. I love that. I'm gonna keep working on that because
Yes.
there's a lot to what you say. I love this idea of the duality, the integrating of the dark and the light. It just makes sense.
The darkness is just there to help you create boundaries. Now that we have identified it, now we can put it to good use. Sometimes we have issues with our ego because it doesn't have anything to do. So give your ego something to do. Give it a problem to solve, and then it engages and it can then take the messages from the higher self. See, we don't know these things. So we're out here treading water.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, I'm sure this is going to help a lot of people. So thank you, Jolie. That's wonderful.
Thank you.
So, okay, well, we'll do a quick wrap up just to say newsletter goes out tomorrow. It will have the recording from today's session. Thank you for being with us today. I do appreciate it. Yeah, and any questions, as always, John Drew at elevatedplanet.life will find me, or you can go onto our elevatedplanet.life website, where you will also find the newsletter, and you will also find the latest video that we have, or the Elevated Planet YouTube channel as well, where we keep all our material. So plenty of choices to keep you occupied from that thumb twiddling time, which you'd normally have. So yeah. Okay, is that it, Jolie? Anything else you want to add?
No, just thank you. It's truly an honor to do this, and I feel very privileged. Thank you, John. Thank you, Elevated Planet community. And don't forget, John, about the Nos Populi. Join our community.
That's and you know I got encouraged by that because the we the people thing keeps coming up across a whole bunch of people now saying this is where the future is. This is where the future is. So we need to just keep banging that particular drum, and we will. So yeah, that's going to be exciting times ahead. That's for sure. So thank you, Jolie. Thank you, everyone out there. And we will be back to you in a week's time, but we will also be back to you on the newsletter tomorrow. So till next week, have a fantastic time. Thank you.